Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Not Fade This podcast. My name is Joshua Reimer, joined by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Block. Jared, how are you doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
We're starting the one sport per day kind of thing, and I'm kind of into it. I'm finally kind of over the your season's not over, mine is. So I've looked forward to not having to worry about two sports. We talked about that a little bit pre-show, just like trying to get into a new rhythm, trying to get a little bit more focused on how to handle one sport in this time of the calendar. So we have 7 games today. We have just as much injury news as a bigger slate. We finally got some clarity, sort of, on the Lakers situation. We'll see what they do in a second leg of the back-to-back. But we have some sizable injuries to talk about. We have an OKC San Antonio rematch and a few other things to discuss on this slate. It feels like a little bit more of a packed Tuesday because usually we have 4 or 5 games, but this is a nice slate overall.
Yeah, definitely a nice slate. Kind of like you said yesterday, all of these slates throughout the week are kind of all in that 6 to 10 game range. So it's kind of a sweet spot, to be honest. Like, I feel like you can definitely get oversaturated with games, and you can definitely have too little amount of games as well. But this is kind of a really good sweet spot, and it seems like there's a lot of good games on the board. I'm excited to talk about this Rockets side of the ball against the Bulls. I'm excited to talk about this OKC and San Antonio rematch. Excited to talk about the whole slate. So excited to break it down with you. Without further ado, let's get into it and talk about some injuries, Jared.
Yeah, so as of about 10 minutes ago, we got some clarity. I won't say we really got any answers, but coming into the game or coming into the afternoon, we had no idea what the Lakers were going to do with LeBron and Luca. They're both still listed as questionable, and that's kind of the same status that we had since last night. So that's kind of the biggest question mark on the day. And when we do get that, we will announce it. I don't think we're going to get it anytime soon on this show. So currently, both are listed as questionable today. We've talked in the past, really recently, about how LeBron expects to handle back-to-backs this season. It doesn't seem like he's going to play, but again, this whole like tops card thing is interesting development and wrinkle into all of that. So I guess we'll see what happens with those two guys. From there, I guess the biggest injury update is that Anthony Edwards is out for this game. We also know that Rudy Gobert will serve his suspension as well today, so that's leaving the Wolves shorthanded. Nice spot for value against the Bucks. Additional question marks: Jamal Murray, Norman Powell, Miles Turner, and Zachary Risachet, though I think we just got the Risachet update. He is out today, as well as Luke Kennard. An additional Lakers note: Jackson Hayes is not playing today, so we got some interesting stuff to cover. Any updates on your end? Lakers speculation?
I really think that one sits and one plays. I don't know if the Lakers are kind of just throwing this. I mean, like, not really throwing, but like, I don't know if they're really competing this year. But like, with how tight the West is, basically like 2 through 7 is all within like 4.5 games. I don't know if this is really a spot where you can drop a game and like completely sit everyone. I also know it's very early on in the year, so like talking about standings right now feels a little weird, but I also just think that this Lakers team is on a 3 game losing streak. I would think that they would be remiss to just end up sitting both of them and kind of calling it there. I would say Vegas is kind of preparing for one or I think Vegas is kind of preparing for both of them to miss, right? Like you see Hawks -3.5. It's in LA. I don't know if they are really 3.5 point dogs if Luca or LeBron ends up playing. I feel like the only way where they're 3.5 point dogs is if they both sit. So that's what I feel like I think Vegas is preparing for, but it's kind of just going to be a wait and see.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, and I think that there's definitely a you know if I don't I think Luca and LeBron together probably account for like what a 5 point swing, if not higher than that. So it does make sense to see that play out. I guess we'll again if it breaks we'll break it on the show. I just don't think we're gonna get that in the next hour.
No, I doubt. I bet we don't get it till like 7 at the earliest. I think.
Right,
I
which really
think
throws a wrench into the entire slate.
Yeah, it certainly does. Okay. If you're ready, I'm ready. We can start breaking down some of these top implied team totals.
All right, let's do it.
Top dog belongs to the Oklahoma City Thunder with a 119.75 implied team total here. They're 8.5 point favorites. Over unders at 230.5. They face off against this San Antonio team that they've lost 7 games. 3 of them have been to San Antonio. So this is a team that has definitely kind of haunted them a little bit this season. San Antonio's without Devin Vassell, but OKC is without Hartenstein. They could potentially be without Dort as well, so
Yep.
we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Give me your thoughts. What do you think about OKC today?
Yeah, that Dort news came in about 10 to 15 minutes ago as well, so that does throw a bit of a wrinkle into this one. I do think that it'll be interesting to compare in this segment because we're going to talk about Houston next, most likely, and they have similar team totals. I tend to, just from doing both of these games on the rundown today, I can tell you that I don't really like a lot on the Thunder side. I think that most often our default answer is just going to be Shea's in a good spot, and you kind of have to look at how good that spot actually is. Like, yes, it is good. Most oftentimes, I think this one is an above average good, not only for just the Spurs matchups we've seen this year, but recently we do know that the two zones that the Spurs are allowing the most field goals from per game are the mid range and the paint, and that is a place where Shea ranks top 10 in both of those zones. Technically, taking roughly 10 in those zones per game just because of how much he drives and averaging right around 6 to 7 field goals made. I would say that in terms of like best spots on the slate, it's hard to say that Shea shouldn't be actually in the conversation, though I would lean on like, does it make our top 5 plays overall? I don't really know right now. I don't really feel great about it. I know he ended up getting there for us a couple days ago, but it was really, really sweaty. And he started off the game 1 for 7 or 1 for 8 and found his way there. I think that you're just going to see him in the pocket of like 40 to 44 PRA the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think like I will say like San Antonio over the last 5 games has shown at least a weakness in above the break threes. Over the
Sure.
last 5 games, they've allowed the sixth most. Shea is, I mean, like this is one of those teams that is just not making enough of them in general, like over their whole entire team. The Bulls fit into that category as well. I think you see the Heat fit into that category. Like there are certain teams out there that just don't have those good above the break shooters, and this OKC team is kind of one of those teams. Shea's taking 5 above the break threes per game over the last 7 games. He's only making 1.3 of them though, Jared. So like he just hasn't been good enough at it. And while I think we've recommended the Shea spot every time that OKC plays the Spurs, because San Antonio's weakness has been this point guard position all year long,
Yep.
it just hasn't come through, right? Like he has one of these games with 30 plus. The other 2 games were pretty much, well, one of them was duds. The other one he got relatively close to 30. Still, I find this OKC team just kind of a toss up. Like you said, we kind of default with OKC to just talking about Shea and if he's in a good spot or if he's not in a good spot, and the rest is just kind of meh. That's kind of how I feel, except for the fact that I don't know if I even want to trust Shea in this one. So
Yep.
the Spurs team definitely knows how to handle him really well right now.
It does feel like you need everything possible to go right. Like every
Yeah.
single shot that just needs to fall in order for this to go. So he'll be listed as like a top player in this game. Though again, when we're transferring to the next team in Houston, I find that spot much more manageable.
Yeah, certainly I would agree. Let's move on to that next spot, Jared, and talk about the Houston Rockets as they face off against the Chicago Bulls here. They're 12.5 point favorites, over unders at 225.5. Rockets are on a 3 game losing streak right now. It should be mentioned. They had that really tough loss against Sacramento last time out. So something to keep in mind. Maybe they come into this one fired up. This is definitely one of those moments where Someone added me in the Discord this morning and said, "Man, the Kevin Durant matchup couldn't get any better." Right? Talking about like power forwards against this Bulls team have just been the nuts recently, and I instantly commented back, "Well, Cooper Flag proved that wrong a little bit on Saturday for me." But I think this is just a spot where you kind of have to set it and forget it, right? Like we just keep attacking fours against this Chicago team, and I guess the real question is that for is it Kevin Durant, or do you think it's more Jabari Smith here?
Think I'm leaning into Jabari probably a little bit more. Though I will say, like, you can make a case that Şengün's probably in the best spot. Maybe not looking at a DVP perspective, but let's back up a second. They have an implied team total near 120, which again, like we haven't. I mean, we've had a lot of teams that have 130s recently, so this is kind of just our best spot of the day. Today on a weirder one, I do think that you get to look at it in a positive light when looking at the pace of play here. This is a huge pace up spot for Houston. We also know that Chicago has the 10th worst defensive rating in the NBA right now. They're allowing a lot of corner threes, not so much above the break threes right now, but they're getting just destroyed in the restricted area like they have all season. You have two guys in the top five right now on this same team in the restricted area over the last 30-day sample. Şengün ranks third, and Amin Thompson ranks fourth. Now, those things look really good on paper, but then you look at DVP and you start to add in additional factors. And we know that Chicago is just shutting down point guards right now. They've allowed the second fewest points to point guards over their last 7 games. They've allowed the exact opposite to shooting guards, the most points in the NBA. You can call that matchups. We'll dive into it more when I get your take on this. But yeah, like you said, they're getting smashed against power forwards. So do we see Steven Adams slide into the starting lineup? Probably not. I think that they'll stick with Şengün at the 5. Jabari Smith would technically enter the conversation as the best DVP play. But yeah, like I said, Şengün's the best zone scorer in this matchup. So I guess you can go a multitude of ways. I listed both of them as spotlight players just because that's kind of an easy cop-out for me. But yeah, give me your thoughts on the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I think almost definitely it's going to end up being Aaron Holiday in the starting lineup. That's what they went with last time with Tari Eason out. I think it's Holiday at point, Amin Thompson at shooting guard, so on and so forth. Really interested in the Amin Thompson spot. I guess it kind of depends on, like, do you think Holiday plays point or do you think Thompson plays point? I think there's definitely conversations for both. I think Amin Thompson kind of lines up with the matchup too. Like, Bulls are so bad in the restricted area. Thompson's a pure driving guard. He does not take a lot of jumpers. That kind of is a spot that he can thrive in. I think Jabari's in a spot that he can thrive in too. That corner 3 spot that Tari Eason would have been the ideal guy to go to here. He scores in the restricted area and in the corner 3 spot. But instead, I think Jabari kind of takes that over, and he can be the guy that scores in the restricted area and in the corner 3 spot. So really like Jabari, really like Amin Thompson. I guess you get to a point where it's like, how many can you really take? Because this is not a very good Bulls team, and like I do think there's a chance that Houston kind of blows the doors off the Chicago team now that they're back at home and they've been on this losing streak. They're extra motivated. Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors here that you have to consider, and you have to think about definitely capping yourself at how many Houston players you really, really want to get into today, because I think you can make a case for almost everyone outside of Aaron Holiday, of course, but that is that. But yeah, really like this Houston spot. You mentioned like comparing OKC to Houston. Even though with Houston having the second highest implied total, I would agree with you and say like Houston's the more intriguing spot overall.
Yep. Notable to mention that Kobe White and Josh Giddey are both out again. So
Yes.
that doesn't help the situation for Houston. But like you said, most everyone is in a great to elite spot when considering the rest of the plays on the card. If we're ranking them, I might adjust this in the rundown because I did list Şengün as a spotlight play. I think he still could be considered 1, but if we're looking at 2, I think I'd have to lean with Jabari and Thompson right now.
Yeah, I agree. I really like both spots, and I think potentially I stay away from Kevin Durant. I don't know. Maybe Durant's more of like an alt market spot instead of like a real spot.
An actual decent trend is that he's hit 10 plus rebounds plus assists in 8 of the last 10 games. I had been staying away from that with Tari playing now because he kind of just throws a wrench into some stuff. But I think it's okay enough for like a SGP. But yeah, I don't think Kevin Durant will make our big board today.
He's hit 20 plus points in 15 straight games. His 20 plus point market is minus 435. So
Yeah,
kind of fits into like the two minds are better than one type build. Like where if you're
right.
trying to get to a plus 100, you're trying to get like 3 to 4 legs. That's something that I would certainly consider.
Yeah.
Okay,
Last note.
go
Thompson,
for it.
20 plus points in 6 of the last 7 games. So that also is an
Thompson's been
attributing
hooping.
factor to
Yeah.
his restricted area scoring tonight.
I haven't even looked. I wonder what Tari Eason, like the per 36 minute differentials are with
Yeah,
Eason
you
off
take
the
a
floor.
look at that. I will also add that when talking about Eason, which kind of upgrades the spot for Jabari, Tari did have, he ranked ninth when I looked over the last month in the NBA from the corner 3 zone, and I do think that that directly translates to the Jabari Smith spot.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Wow, okay. So Jabari does get a bump, 3.1 more points per 36 minutes, zero point 0.6 more rebounds per 36 minutes. The biggest bump, though, is the Şengün spot, 5.6 more points per 36 minutes. Usage rate goes up 5% as well. He ends up having the highest usage rate when Tari Eason is off the floor at 28.7%, then Durant, then Amin Thompson. Yeah, certainly interesting stuff there. All right, we've talked about this spot quite a bit. We've been pretty in depth here, so let's move on and talk about this next spot. And let's talk about the Golden State Warriors, who have a 118.5 implied team total here, same as the Rockets. They are 10.5 point favorites against this injured Trailblazers team. Over under is set at 226.5. Give me your thoughts. What do you like about the Warriors here?
Yeah, 10-point favorites at home. Like you said, Trailblazers. They did get Drew Holiday back, but he'll be on a minutes limit. But they are missing Denny Avdia as well as expected. Jeremy Grant should not play in this game too. So that sets things up for disaster. I guess we'll
Yeah.
start with there. Drew being on Steph makes things a fun conversation. We'll see how that goes. When it comes to actual positional defense, we know that the Blazers are allowing a lot of points to small forwards over their past 7 games recently. That's not going to help when Avdia and Jeremy Grant are not playing. Kind of weird to see that with Tumani Kamara just being a guy that kind of takes out the best guy on each side. So give me your thoughts on Jimmy Butler. Definitely grades out as a solid one. Do we think that Tumani Kamara goes primarily on Steph or Jimmy?
I'd imagine. I guess it depends on what they do with Drew because I know last
Yeah.
game he played, but he ended up he ended up coming off the bench, so that can make a pretty big difference. I would think they would want someone to stop Steph, and here's the reason why. The Warriors have played Portland 3 times this season. I don't know if you read my section of the rundown, but do you know how many 3-pointers Steph has made this season against Portland in those 3 games? Altogether.
I have not. I didn't get there yet, but I am looking at it. I don't. I'm not looking at it, so I'm gonna guess. On average or total?
Total, altogether. I mean, you could do on
Okay.
average
So
too.
3
I have a
times?
good idea of both numbers. Yeah, played 3 times.
I'm gonna say 15 threes total.
He's made 28 threes against the Portland
Oh, yeah,
Trailblazers,
yeah.
Jared.
He had a big game.
He
Yeah,
had
yeah.
12 one game, he had 9 another, and then he had 7 earlier on in the year. Effing insane stuff. I saw those because so here's the thing. The Portland's really bad against above the break, or is very good against above the break threes. They're one of the best teams on the whole season. They've done a very good job of defending this spot. But I remember someone talking about it in chat this morning. So I remember thinking about Curry doing a poor job against Portland, and then he lit them up anyway. So I went to go look it up, and he's just purely dominated them. Now, I don't think Drew has played in any of these games, so that is definitely a factor that you have to consider.
Yep.
I would think Portland has to go all out to stop Steph. Does it even matter? I'm not really sure at the end of the day. I kind of just want to just ride with Steph here, to be honest. I think Jimmy PRA stuff is perfectly fine, or just points and rebounds is perfectly fine. But even though it doesn't line up with DVP, it doesn't line up with our zone stuff that we do a lot of research on. it feels like Steph Curry just kind of proves in this spot that he's truly matchup proof, and that's what he's done in each of the 3 matchups this season. So,
Yep.
I can definitely get behind the spot for Steph here.
Yeah, it's one of those things like we talked about with Maxi yesterday. I think he and Curry and a couple other guys are just in a spot where like I'm not gonna advocate for an under, even if the
Yeah,
spot looks good on paper, right? Or terrible, I should say in this case. Um, yeah, Drew played 16 minutes in the last game. We should expect somewhere around the 16 to 20 minute range. Good luck if you're gonna
I
play
will
him.
say I misspoke. Drew did play in the first game against Steph. That's where Steph had the worst outcome, but he still had 7 threes. So like, that's still crazy. If he scored 7 threes tonight, what? That's probably like plus 400, 500, somewhere around there. So like, yeah, that's still an elite outcome for him. I think that Steph's kind of just the guy that I'm going to ride with in this one for the Warriors.
Yeah.
Okay, you got anything else? If not, let's head over to hottest shooters.
Let's move to shooters.
Let's move over. I will let you go first. Where do you want to go?
Where I'm gonna go, let's see. Try not to mention like too many of the implied team totals because like that's we've already covered that well enough. So I do think what we'll end up doing here, um, I'd kind of like to go and talk about what Minnesota or has to be able to do now in order to rectify missing Ant for this game. And I think that while he wouldn't make like a bigger slate, I do think that Dante DiVincenzo deserves a hard look here. 15 plus points in 3 straight, and more importantly, I need to grab this trend that I got from earlier. I think Ant missed like 7 games this year, which is a pretty decent sample size. And in that spot, DiVincenzo has hit 3+3s in all 7 games. And so when you look at that and compare it to the matchup that he should get today against his former team, you really like what he can do from above the break. And so I do think that he is in a really good spot today. And most importantly for this segment, he's been really consistent recently as well as when Ant has missed.
Yeah, for sure. Can certainly get behind that. Want to talk about? I want to go to Nikola Vucevic here, who's kind of just been on this run of being really consistent over the last 8 games. He's had 8 straight games with 15 plus points, and it's one of those spots where it's like, yeah, he's had 8 games of 15 plus points, but it's also the Rockets. We know how good of a defense this is, but the one weak spot of this Rockets defense is their defense inside the paint, but outside the restricted area, and that's where kind of Vooch does his scoring, right? Vooch over the last 7 games is a top 10 player in this zone. I think Vooch is in a good spot to keep getting the job done. So he certainly qualifies as a hottest shooter here, just with how consistent he's been. And I don't think the matchup is as bad as you might actually think it is.
Yeah, I did look at the Vooch stuff earlier today. Really, I loved the rebounds plus assists market, but I can get on board with points, and we can kind of. I don't want to say completely disregard DVP because it is a notable first in that category over the last 7 games, but the paint scoring stuff is really good. So I do think that when push comes to shove, I'm willing to go Vooch, and that's probably the biggest reason that Houston players get their props tonight is if Vooch has a huge game.
I mean, dude, also, just looking at the centers that they've played, like
Yeah, that's a
Claxton,
huge factor too.
Gafford, Mark Williams, Klingon twice, Renaud from Sacramento. Like, these are all kind of guys that are scoring they're definitely not scoring in the 20s any given night. They're mostly scoring in the teens. Like, Vooch has shown that he's like a really consistent scorer recently. So, I don't know, something to consider. All right, go ahead. You can take the reins here. Take the next few. I don't really have anything else outside of that Vooch spot.
See, the problem, I have one more guy, and I don't
Okay.
think that there's many more guys to go to after that.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the spot for Peyton Watson. I'm going to make this like a long tangent, so bear with me. Deron Holmes' experiment is over. He didn't play. It was a coach's decision in his last game, and they essentially are playing Zeke Najee more as well as moving Aaron Gordon to center, who is probable today. That gives Peyton Watson the 4 and the primary position he normally would play. So in that stretch of game, like the last like 7 games, he scored 19 plus points, including games with 25, 30 points, 24 points a couple of times. Playing elite minutes. He's one of the only trustworthy guys on the Denver Nuggets right now as they battle through injury. And on top of that, Jamal Murray might not even play. So, yeah, Peyton Watson for me was a huge, huge highlight on the rundown. He also, and it's not really easy to attack New Orleans at the moment. They're not allowing a ton of above the break stuff, so it wouldn't be a hammer Jamal Murray spot necessarily, but they're allowing a lot of corner stuff and they're allowing a lot of restricted area stuff, and both of those profile pretty well for Peyton Watson right now.
For sure. Can certainly get behind that. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, let's head over to round table.
Let's keep moving.
All right, for those who don't know how it works, Jared and I bring some of our top plays to the table at certain statistical categories. Those statistical categories are points, rebounds, and assists. And Jared, I'll have you start out. Where do you want to go for points?
Where I would like to go would probably, I think we kind of have to, like, we could mention Derek Queen a couple times in this segment, but I do think that centers are just getting wrecked by centers against Denver are just absolutely just terrorizing them. And I know that that might change with the recent Gordon move, but you still got Zeke Naji playing primary center minutes, and that's just not going to look good on paper. So Derek Queen, I think he's a great play. I think a lot of nights he's a great play, and most times if it doesn't work out, it's likely because the coach just won't play him. So that runs into some issues, but I do think Derek Queen deserves some praise on the podcast today.
Yeah, I can certainly get behind that. I'm going to go to this Trey Murphy spot that feels really solid for New Orleans. Against this Denver team, they've been struggling with above the break threes recently. We've seen Trey Murphy absolutely light the world on fire. I don't know what the number is at right now. I know that when I looked at this on, I think, Sunday, Trey Murphy was averaging 5 above the break threes per game over the last 7. It's now at 4.8, but just to give you an idea of how insane that is, that's outscoring Steph Curry on above the break threes, which is something that is extremely hard to do, even over any small sample size of games. So really like this spot for Trey Murphy. I think he can definitely attack this above the break 3 spot. Denver also has been struggling against small forwards, allowing the 7th most points over the last 7 games and allowing the 6th most 3-pointers made to small forwards over the last 7 games. So all around, good spot for Trey.
Great spot for Trey. I'd feel better about it if Sadiq Bey was ruled out. We'll see if that's going to be a thing, as he's currently questionable. One more thing before we move on to the rebound spot. I want to just explore this for a second here, and maybe there's no answer. Maybe we just fade it, but we know that your Lakers are the worst team in the league against small forwards for the majority of the year, most notably like this entire month of January so far. With Risa Shea out, what do we do with this? Because I don't know if there's like a traditional small forward that Atlanta can use there. Now you got Kispert playing minutes for them now. You can't really.
Yeah,
call
isn't it going to be Vit?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, I just don't believe in it. I just think I'm going to talk about Jalen Johnson. Well, if you don't talk about him, I'm going to talk about him in one of these categories. I think it just kind of forwards over to Jalen Johnson, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but yeah, it's kind of just what we're left with there. Okay. Rebounds. This one's kind of interesting for me. I think what I'll do is bring up a conversation about what to do with Miami's big men today. We know that the Suns are allowing the 3rd most rebounds to centers. This is a pretty sizable pace down spots. That's normally not one that would make the roundtable discussion because I don't really like targeting down pace of play spots. But I do think it's worth noting, at least recently, that we've seen extreme drop off from Khalil Ware in terms of minutes played. He's coming off the bench now with Hero being healthy for at least a good stretch of games. Back-to-back games of 17 and 16 minutes. Now, I guess like one of those games was against OKC, but that's still extremely concerning. And the rebounding numbers have fallen off a cliff given this recent change. So I do think this is a strong Bam Adebayo spot in a position where a good chunk of December and November we were like, who's playing power forward for the Heat, and that was a strong conversation always. So I'm going to go with Bam here as the rebounding spot. Double-digit boards in 1, 2, 3, 4 of his last 7, and he's gotten 9 a couple times too.
For sure. Can certainly get behind that. I'm going to go with a little bit of a, I guess not like a mainstream starter play, but I really do like the spot for Robert Williams today against this Warriors team. And a lot of people would think, like, if you're targeting Robert Williams, why wouldn't you just target Donovan Clingan? Clingan's been really inconsistent with his rebounding recently. Like, it's really all over the place. He can get 15, but he also can give you, like, 7. And he specifically has done really bad against this Warriors team. But what's intriguing to me is that Williams, even in 2 games where he only played 20 minutes and 19 minutes against this Warriors team, he came away with 11 boards in both games, Jared. He's on a pure minutes restriction right now. He's sticking below 20 after coming back from the injury. But clearly, like, he only needs like 15 to 20 to get to this big number. So Warriors have been allowing a lot of rebounds to centers. My theory on it would be like, they're allowing a lot of rebounds to athletic centers and maybe not more of your traditional centers like Clingan is. Williams is more athletic, more of a dunker, and more of a guy that I think can get these boards. So we're going with Robert Williams over 5.5 rebounds. It feels crazy to recommend a play like 5.5 rebounds when he's only getting like 15 minutes, but he's just shown the ability to do it against this Warriors team.
Yeah, I like the Williams call. I think that they don't want to, and I don't think we will see it, but you can make a case that he deserves more time, and maybe they give Klingons less minutes here.
You can make the case that like without Denny, they get a lot smaller, and you could certainly see them at the end of the game slide Cisco out, Sissoko, whatever his name is. You could see them slide him out a small forward. You could see them slide Kamara over to small forward and then put Williams as a power forward, at least to end out the game, I think is definitely a possibility. All right, assist. What do you got, Jared?
Yeah, so initially I was gonna give this one to Julius Randle. The Bucks have allowed a ton of assists to power forwards recently, but I'm gonna retract that because doing some research on props.cash right now. Shout out to them. He has not been an assist guy with Edwards out this year. He had gotten double digits once, but he's had 4 times in those 7 games. So I think that when we're looking at how Minnesota is going to operate, you really just want like shooting guard assists, and we're just not going to have that here unless you think differently with the Highland stuff. So I'm not going to go there unless you disagree.
No, I don't. I feel like I've looked at per 36-minute differentials for Edwards being out, and I thought that Randall got more assists, but I could be completely wrong.
I think
and
it's
might
probably really overblown by that 10 assist performance.
maybe. Let's see. Yeah, he averages. Okay, yeah, it's not. It's just points. He just averages 6.7 more points per 36 minutes. But he doesn't get any more assists. Like it's like 0.1 more. So yeah, you're definitely right there. Where are you going instead?
We're gonna go with Vooch. Like I said, I think, and yes, he will definitely have opportunities to score here, but maybe this is more of a rebounds plus assists play. He's hit 13 in 6 straight games, and obviously a lot of these games have not been featuring Kobe White and Josh Giddey. 4+ assists in 5 of the last 6 games, and we do know that if there's one area that Houston allows a lot of assists to, it's opposing centers, the second most over their last 7 games, and it's honestly the only below average assist spot for them the entire year.
For sure. Can certainly get behind that. I mentioned I was going to go to Jalen Johnson somewhere. This is going to be the spot. Really like the Jalen Johnson all around. I think PRA wise, he's one of the stronger plays of the day. But just in the assist category, when Kristaps Porzingis doesn't end up playing and he is out today, Jalen Johnson has 9+ assists in 65% of games this season, Jared. The Lakers are also allowing 63% of power forwards to surpass their assist line over the last 10 games. That's giving up 7 assists to Santi Aldama, 5 assists to Zion Williamson. Harrison Barnes got 6 assists. You're just seeing a lot of guys pass out. And maybe it's because of Vanderbilt playing some more defense at power forward instead of LeBron now that Vandy has come back. Maybe that's what's encouraged these power forwards to pass a little bit more. But regardless of the reasoning, we know that Johnson is an elite passer. We know that elevates when Kristaps is out of the game. And honestly, all around, everything for Johnson elevates when Kristaps isn't playing. He's covered his points line of 22.5 in 75% of games without Porzingis playing, Jared. So I think all around, Jalen Johnson is a good play. We're just highlighting assist here, so he's my assist play technically, but like could totally see you going PRA here and not feeling bad about it.
Yeah, I like the Jalen Johnson spot a lot. How do you think that they want to play with this recent trade acquisitions?
What do you mean? Like I think it's just
this
a
is Johnson's
focus
team now, right? That was the statement.
Yeah.
So like, what do you do regarding the McCollum Naw stuff now?
I think McCollum ends up starting. Nah was always supposed to be like a bench piece anyway, so like that bench needs significant help, regardless. So, yeah, I feel like once CJ's ready to play, he's not playing yet, is he? Or is he playing off the bench? CJ's playing off the bench, or at least he is projected to play off the bench. So yeah, I guess you keep doing what you're doing. You let CJ play off the bench, be a sixth man. That's kind of CJ's role anyway, right? On at least, like on a winning team, he should be coming off of the bench right now and being like that energizer sixth man rather than a actual point guard
now
or shooting
in his
guard.
Career, I would agree. This is Jalen Johnson's team.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt. I don't think they doubt. I don't think CJ's like switching their plans up whatsoever. I honestly think CJ was just to match salaries because they need to find someone to match salaries with at the end of the day to make that trade work. All right, you got anything else, Jared? If not, we can head over to Two Minds Are Better Than One.
Let's do that.
Let's go ahead and do that. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I will go back and forth, each of us selecting 2 player props each. Our goal for the parlay as a whole is to get to plus 100 to plus 150. So usually you'll see us take some alt lines here and there. And we ended up cashing last night. It was a really good job. Was very sweaty. Claxton made it sweaty, just like we predicted. LeBron almost made it very sweaty. And yeah, doesn't matter because we ended up winning. So a good, it was like plus 140, plus 130, somewhere around there. So definitely a good one to come away with. Jared, let's kick it off and I'll have you start here.
Yeah, I'm still a bit hesitant to go full in on Wemby for most things right now. Playing 25 minutes, 3 straight games. So maybe we'll see. I don't know. Did I incorrectly? I don't want to spread false information, but I think somewhere I thought I saw that he's just not going to have 30 minutes the rest of the year. Is that me just thinking about it, or did you see that?
I didn't see it. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, they're trying to keep him healthy for once.
I'll look into that later. So apologies, but this is not a Wemby take. This is a Luke Cornett take. I do think that they will like to. They're going to try to bully ball OKC, and I do think that Luke Cornett's a big piece of that. While I would love to take Wemby for rebounds, this is more of a Luke Cornett situation. OKC is allowing the most rebounds to centers over their last 7 games, and the Cornett's a guy that's going to get you. He's one of the best rebounders in the game per 20 minutes. So I'm going to say we can lock that in for a good 6 here.
6 would be minus 138. Do you want to go with 4 or 5?
Like he's hit that in 9 straight games.
Let's go with 5. I like the spot. All right, I already talked about this being an alt spot, and it feels wrong to just let that take go to waste. So let's go Kevin Durant, 20 plus points.
Okay. We'll go with the take very early on in the show. I'm going to go and take Dante DiVincenzo for... it's fine for 3 threes. I'm sure that's probably like a minus 150, though.
Minus 275 for 3 threes.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's a really strong spot. I know that most books are going to have it, like Underdog and Prize Picks will have 3.5 as the baseline, and I think that's fine, too.
Yeah.
3 threes is fine, though.
Let's go with 3 threes. And then, well, do we want to just go over plus 150 for once?
Sure.
because that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of took a big alt line here, and it still ended up being plus 169. But we're gonna go with Curry for 20 plus points. I just refuse to believe that like Portland will figure out this Curry matchup all of a sudden. I think that they're still going to end up struggling, and clearly he's enjoying playing against them, and he's finding a way to take advantage of that defense. So, prediction is that he keeps that going on, and he gets 20 plus points easily here. So altogether, we have KD for 20 plus points. We have Steph Curry for 20 plus points. We have Cornette for 5 plus rebounds. And we have Dante DiVincenzo for 3 plus 3-pointers made. Altogether, a little bit higher than we said. Like we said, we usually aim for plus 100 to plus 150, but plus 171 here. You know, let's get a little bit spicy with it, Jared. All right. Show's done. Jared, give your final thoughts. What do the people need to know about today's slate?
Just checking for updated news. We don't have any. So if you missed the top of the show, you would know that LeBron and Luca are questionable, which is essentially what the report was this morning without saying anything. Josh thinks that one of them is going to start and one of them is going to not play today. I would tend to agree with that. LeBron's already come out and stated, we talked about this on the podcast last week, that he's going to just struggle to play in back-to-back scenarios this year or the rest of the year, so we shouldn't expect him to play here. I would say if one's going to sit, it's probably him. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But that's a really, really late game on the show today. I would just kind of avoid the Lakers in general on the slate. I think that there are much, much better opportunities for Houston, like the spot for DiVincenzo. We didn't even talk about any Bucks. I think that Miles Turner being out would be a significant boost for Bobby Portis and Giannis both. In the scenario that Miles Turner would miss, I think that they just start Giannis at center and they would figure it out from there. Because I don't think they want Portis and Giannis playing together. So that would be an interesting wrinkle to me because Giannis could just destroy. Who do you expect? Would Naz? Are you expecting Naz Reid to start at center today?
Yeah, I think so. I'd be shocked if they didn't, right? Like they wouldn't go Julius.
I stretched it a little bit in the rundown. Like Minnesota ranked like 13th against restricted area scoring. So I don't know. I think that gets significantly worse with Gobert out. So we'll see what the Miles Turner stuff does for the Bucks tonight. But yeah, from there, Portland's got a bunch of guys out. We already talked about that in length. It does feel like outside of Steph, like the night slate's kind of a bummer. So like Houston is in a strong spot. SGA is in a strong spot. We've shared a bunch of thoughts on this. 7 games, hard to find plays.
Yeah, seems like it. I wouldn't even call the night slate a bummer. It's just like there's so much up in the air with the Lakers game that like you can't confidently bet on anything until you know the news. So, really hard one to try to adjust to. And whenever you have these late night scenarios where you got to wait for it, it's hard for us to put out stuff because we kind of have to know everything at least relatively close to when the game starts. So, yeah, somewhat of a tough spot, but I think there are plays to like. It's just some of these games are very easy to cross off your list too, right? Like OKC and San Antonio. I think that there's not a whole lot there. I'm excited to watch the game. I think it's a playoff atmosphere every time these two teams play, but I'm not all that interested. I don't think we talked about it once, but like Miami and Phoenix is another game where like
Yep.
I'm not all that interested in anything. Phoenix is a really hard
good,
team.
man.
Yeah,
I like it.
Phoenix is a really hard team to play against. That defense is
Yeah.
pretty close to elite right now. And yeah, you kind of just start crossing off spots here and there, and it helps you narrow things down. So that's kind of how we're operating here. Should note that it's a little bit later of a slate overall. They start at 7:30 today, so keep that in mind. If you're freaking out and wondering where stuff is, we're probably gonna maybe wait a little bit to try to get some news. Maybe we don't end up waiting, but there's at least potential for that, so keep that in mind. Jared, you got anything else? If not, let's get out of here, man.
I wanted to make sure that I said that, I wanted to make sure that Phoenix actually was good because I didn't check the standings before saying
Phoenix is
that.
good.
Sixth in the West, so
Yeah.
they're in the thick of things. Uh,
One of these like
yeah,
6 teams that are all like 4.5 games apart in the West right now.
maybe
Like
maybe we should say it more. Like we didn't talk about Phoenix once today,
I know.
so we should say when I was doing the trends for the props.cash blog. Colin Gillespie came up as a guy who, like, the point guard position has done extremely well with rebounds plus assists against Heat defenses lately. And that's obviously because of the huge pace-up spot. And Phoenix was running at one of the slowest paces in the league anyway, so this is a massive upgrade for them. So should talk about it in a more positive light than we did. So any additional thoughts with, like, Booker here compared to Gillespie?
Yeah, no Booker thoughts here. I will at least mention Norman Powell, who I know is I know he technically plays small forward. I think of him more as a shooting guard at the end of the day, so that's why I think he kind of slides into this DVP conversation, where Phoenix recently has been really struggling against shooting guards. They've allowed the 10th most points over the last 7 games. They've allowed the 8th most three-pointers over the last 7 games. Norman's been hot right now. Like, he's averaging 4.2 above the break threes over the past 7 games. Again, that's up there with, like, the Currys of the world. So that's a pretty massive number to be having. I really would think, like, thinking about matchups and everything, Dylan Brooks would probably go over to Tyler Hero instead. So if that is the case, you could see Norman Powell pop off for a really big game here. I think that ends up what maybe keeps things close for Miami. But yeah, that's my only thoughts. The Devin Booker stuff I feel like is pretty middling. I really like your Colin Gillespie take. I think it's one of the pretty strong take. Mark Williams finds himself in an interesting spot, though. He's kind of in that Claxton area of centers where I don't really trust him. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I don't trust it either. So good luck with that.
Good luck indeed.
Yeah, again, we're trying our best to find plays here. It's not like there's, like, yesterday, I think there was a couple of spots that were like, this is a hammer amazing spot. There are no games with totals over 235 today. That feels like a drought in this day and age in the NBA.
Yep, without a doubt. All right, you got anything else? If not, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
All right, thank y'all for listening. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer, and we will see y'all tomorrow.